Breaking news coming in from the Supreme Court. Another legal setback for Uddhav Thackeray, for the Uddhav Sena. The Supreme Court says will consider the Maharashtra issue only on 11th July. Remember that Uddhav Sena had moved to the Supreme Court seeking urgent hearing of their plea to suspend the rebel MLAs. And that is something that, in fact, the Supreme Court has said we're not going to hear right now. Remember that in the previous disqualification hearing, they had said very, very clearly that this matter will be taken up on 11th July. So even this, with regards to the suspension of the rebel MLAs, has been pushed right now. So no urgent hearing that will happen. Another setback for Uddhav Thackeray, for Uddhav Sena. Anisha Mathur is joining us with more details on this. No respite whatsoever for Uddhav Thackeray, Anisha. The Supreme Court saying that we've pushed the disqualification hearing to 11th July. Even this plea for suspension will be heard then.
Well, yes, it's a very, very crucial question that is being asked now by the Uddhav Thackeray faction of the Shiv Sena. What Senior Advocate Kapil Sibal, who had appeared on behalf of Uddhav Thackeray, on behalf of Sunil Prabhu, had said that since there is no merger of the rebel faction with the BJP, the question is whose whip will have to be heard, whose whip will have to be followed when there is a floor test to confirm Shinde as the chief minister. The Uddhav Sena is raising this argument that these MLAs are rebels, that they have no control over the party, and that is why they should be suspended for anti-party activities. More importantly, Kapil Sibal also arguing that there cannot be voting because the question of whose whip is to be adhered to is still open, and he's saying this is not democracy, this is a violation, and the control over Shiv Sena has to be decided by the Election Commission of India. Shinde cannot at this point claim leadership and claim the chief minister's seat. However, the Supreme Court saying that they will not consider all of these matters at this stage. They will only hear the matter now on 11th after the Supreme Court reopens on regular bench sits for after sessions. Now, what is going to be very, very important to note here is that the floor test that has to be conducted to confirm Shinde's leadership of the House, to confirm Shinde's chief ministership, that also can now be questioned. That is exactly what is being questioned. The court has said that we'll have to see what procedure they evolve for a vote in the House. Whatever has to happen, we will see it on the 11th. We can pass orders later as well. Now, legally, these nuances are important, that the court can hear this matter tomorrow on the 11th. But politically, this is a very, very big win for the Shinde faction, as they can claim control of the House, they can claim control of the Maharashtra government, and there is it's only going to be at a much later stage that the Supreme Court could hear the matter and pass any orders. But politically, it's a very, very big win, even if the legal issues have been kept open. If the court at a later stage, even if it says that the Shinde faction MLAs have to be suspended, or that what they have done is violative of the anti-defection law, till that time, they will have had control of the Maharashtra Assembly and the Maharashtra government. So politically, a very, very important win for the Shinde faction, and a setback for the Uddhav Sena, even though the court has said that legally we will hear the matter and we can pass orders later.
So what's very clear is that the Supreme Court has said we'll do a retrospective hearing, not one before the assembly session tomorrow and day after. These rebel MLAs, essentially, Anisha, will be able to vote. Uddhav Thackeray and Uddhav Sena essentially wanted the Supreme Court to say that they cannot enter the assembly, because that would have meant a huge dent. 16 rebel MLAs not being allowed to enter the assembly for that trust vote. That's something the Supreme Court has said will not happen now. Another legal setback for Uddhav Thackeray, nothing clearly going in his favor. But Anisha, is there a possibility that they will file another petition? Is there any other way they can really try to ensure things go in their favor right now?
Well, Akshita, as far as the Supreme Court is concerned, since there is only one vacation bench where they can mention this, where they could have mentioned this, they're not inclined to take up this matter at this stage. Before the court, there is now nothing that Shiv Sena or the Uddhav faction of the Shiv Sena can do. Of course, they can go to the Election Commission if they choose, and they can there say that the Shinde faction does not control the Shiv Sena. But then again, even there, it is a much longer battle. Effectively, what has happened here is that the political win has come has come because the process as such, the legal process, the election commission process is not fast enough to keep up with the political developments. The Supreme Court is saying we will hear all these matters. We can later decide on the disqualification. We can later decide on whether Shinde's installation as CM was valid or not. But till that time, it is a big win for the Shinde faction. Now, and as you also pointed out right now, that the court is not hearing this matter right now, and the Shiv Sena is trying to ensure that these MLAs get disqualified, that these MLAs do not get to vote in the House. In fact, if you see the petition that has been filed this morning, the Shiv Sena, the Uddhav Thackeray faction, has also said that even Eknath Shinde, because of his action of rebelling against the party, of going with the BJP, has very clearly conducted an anti-party activity and is being rewarded for anti-party activity, for violating the party whip, and Eknath Shinde should not be allowed to enjoy this reward that is being given to him by the BJP, and that is why they wanted the Supreme Court to step in at this stage. But at this moment, it is clear that the court is not hearing this matter today. So for the next 10 days, the Shinde faction will retain control of the assembly. But of course, the court has said that they will consider what process for voting is followed in the House, and later they can pass some orders. So as I said, practically this is a very, very big win. Even if legally and morally later there could be a different view from the court, but for now, practically, politically, the Shinde faction has the room to maneuver, has the room to take claim to the government.
So the Supreme Court essentially saying that every petition with regards to disqualification, now this one with suspension, all of that will only be taken up on 11th July. Their demand for an urgent hearing, which Uddhav's team had put forth before the Supreme Court, has been shot down, saying the Supreme Court saying we will examine this issue only on July 11th now. This is clearly, Anisha, going to be a long-drawn legal battle, considering also that there are so many aspects constitutionally, previous Supreme Court judgments to look into. This isn't an easy case also. So even when it comes up on July 11th, it's going to be a long-drawn legal battle with both sides arguing their cases.
Well, yes, if you look at the history of such decisions in India, we've seen in the case a few years ago, something similar had happened, that an MLA had resigned and then was given a ministerial berth in the new government. And even then the Supreme Court had said we will have to consider these issues. Those issues still remain pending. There is a lot of grey area as far as this whole maneuvering, political maneuvering aspect, and what the defection law can and cannot do is concerned. Now remember, aspect here also, because there are multiple questions of law involved, that is why it is taking time for the court also to hear this matter, to consider all aspects of this matter. And the court is saying that at the moment we are only a vacation bench. We cannot hear all of these constitutional issues. Let the regular bench come back on the 11th and they can then hear these matters. Now, but politically, as I've been saying, legally this matter is going to go on for a while in the court. The question of anti-defection law, of what happens to Shinde, what happens to the rebel MLAs, all of those matters will be considered at a later stage. Even the election commission issue, whether who controls the Shiv Sena, is it Shinde or is it Thackeray, who controls the Shiv Sena, that matter will have to be fought out before the election commission. But for now, for the next 10 days, it is a very, very big breather for the Shinde faction, as the court has declined to interfere at this stage.